Assalamu alaikum and welcome. My name is Noshina Hussein and I'm with Nissa Consulting. I am here to help you make your nonprofit stronger and better and ready to accomplish their mission. So today we're going to talk about building a relationship with your supporters. Donor stewardship is such an important part of fundraising, and I want to tell you and teach you a couple of cool, neat things about that. So, a lot of people know that we do donor recognition, which is like thanking donors, and then we forget sometimes about donor stewardship. And it's really important that you understand both of these aspects as part of the fundraising process. So, today, let's learn together how to practice that. And from an Islamic perspective, I'm sure you've heard of this hadith, which is reported by Abu Huraira, that the Prophet ﷺ, peace and blessings be upon him, said that whoever does not thank people has not thanked Allah. And so when you thank your donors, remember, this is a sunnah. This is an act of worship. This is something that is part of our faith and our religion. And so it's a good reminder that when you receive a gift from a donor, that you remember to thank them. So what's the difference between actually thanking a donor and stewarding a donor, right? Donor recognition is any action or item used by an organization to express appreciation to or for those providing charitable support to the organization. So it could be a simple thank you card, a thank you email, a thank you text. I have received thank you gifts for my gifts to different nonprofits. And so it's actually the recognition of that gift in that moment. Now, stewarding a donor is different because it goes beyond that thank you gift. It's the process of managing the relationship between the donor and the nonprofit. And the end result is of which should be continuous giving. So, donor stewardship is really important and actually impacts donor retention. And so, let's talk a little bit more about what that means. First of all, donor retention is actually the rate of how many donors continue to give to your organization over time. And for simplicity, I'm going to help you understand the calculation in terms of just 1 year of giving. So if you look at the number of donors who gave to your organization last year, let's just say hypothetically that was 100 people. And now you look at all the donors that have given this year and you notice it's 45. Maybe it's 85. Maybe it's 25. But that calculation is number of donors who gave this year divided by the number of donors who gave last year. And that gives you a rate. And that rate is 45%. Now, 45% is actually considered industry standard. So if you hit that number or you have something higher, that's fantastic. But if you get something lower than that number, than that statistic, then it's important for you to create a plan of how you are going to retain donors. Remember, people who have given you before, they're more likely to give you again than it is for you to go out and find new donors to give you for one time. It is so much more beneficial for you to have donors that continue to give to you over the course of time. Now, how does that donor stewardship impact donor retention? So when you appreciate and recognize your donors, they actually give again and they'll give more, right? We see so much data that shows that when somebody is recognized and thanked and appreciated, then it's easy for them to recall that good feeling of making a difference, that they will give and they will give more. I have seen, even in my own experience, that I will tend to give more as each year passes. Also, when you're stewarding donors, that transparency and communication, it really helps donors understand like what your nonprofit organization is doing. And the more they know, the more it increases their support. And of course, personalized engagements are actually so important in stewarding because it increases the emotional connection to the nonprofit. And so when you engage with the donor sort of on a one-on-one basis where you use first name basis, like that emotional connection helps to connect the person not with just their dollars, but to the nonprofit and its mission. And of course, sometimes donors are concerned about how things are working in your nonprofit. So address those concerns. And when you do that, it actually fosters trust and commitment to your nonprofit. So donor stewardship is really important when donors want to give again and they want to continuously be donating to your organization. Now, there are 5 stages of donor stewardship, and I will credit this to Bloomerang, which is a donor database that really helps people. Not people, it helps nonprofits be able to record their donors and their donor information and so forth. So, if you don't have a donor database, I would highly recommend getting one, and to look at Bloomerang as one of those options. Now, in the 5 stages of donor stewardship, when a donor gives their gift for the very first time, you should immediately acknowledge that gift. As soon as you receive it, you should send the donor a personalized thank you message. It should feel not canned. It should not be just an email blast or something that looks like it's been copy pasted. Try to be as personalized as possible. Handwritten notes are great. Things that have the person's first name are wonderful, but send a personalized thank you message. And then after that gift, throughout the year, write and create updates that communicate the impact that that donation has given, right? Like help donors understand what their money is doing for the nonprofit's mission. And so that helps people understand like where the money is being used and what type of impact it's happening in the community. And of course, if you have events, if you have email newsletters that go out or a website, thank your donors publicly. Of course, ask, because not all donors want public recognition, but sometimes it helps other people to donate to your organization. So I'll give you an example. When I donate to an organization and that nonprofit recognizes me, my friends and family see that I support that nonprofit. And if so, then they're more inclined because they see, Sheena trusts that nonprofit. I would love to learn more about it. And maybe that's where my next gift is going to go. And finally, throughout the year, as you are sending those updates, remember when it comes time for asking for another gift, invite the donor to give again. There are so many times where I've heard people, when we ask them, why did you give? The answer is because somebody asked me. And so, think about the times when you've been asked, have you ever said no? No, of course not. You trust people and you trust that they know what your giving goals are. And then when they invite you to donate, you'll donate. Now, think about all the different ways you have thanked a donor. How has your organization thanked a donor? And you can jot these down. I have received an automatic email that thanks me. I've received cards written by board members. I've had people take me out for coffee. I've had donors actually, or sorry, not donors, organizations call me and ask me, to get feedback and on their event or on their program or whatnot. So think about all the different ways that you have thanked a donor and jot those down. Because what I want you to think about now is reflect. Think about a time when a nonprofit organization properly thanked you, right? So in that last slide, I asked you as an organization how you thank your donors. But I want you to think about a time when a nonprofit organization has properly thanked you, right? What did that feel like? What did it remind you of? How did it make you feel towards that organization, to that staff, to that mission? Reflect on that for a couple seconds here. Now, of all those beautiful ways of being thanked, do you thank your donors that same way? I mean, this is kind of eye-opening, right? Like, I know that in the past, there have been some great ways that people from nonprofits have called me and thanked me that I felt really appreciated and humbled by the way they spent the time to do that. And I always think back to, well, did I thank my donors that way? And now think about a time when a nonprofit organization did not thank you. How did it make you feel? This has happened to me, and it is not a good feeling. When you make a decision of where your giving is going to go this year and you feel like you have added a new organization or you've given more to a previous organization, you want that recognition, right? And when you don't receive any recognition, it really makes you question if you made the right decision. So think about a time when a nonprofit organization didn't thank you and how did it make you feel? Because now, do you wonder if perhaps you've ever made your donors feel that way? I mean, that sounds pretty heavy right now, right? Like I didn't feel good when I wasn't thanked. Am I doing the same thing by not thanking my own donors? So make time and make plans for recognizing and appreciating your donors. So, who is on your donor stewarding team? Okay, because stewarding donors takes a lot, and sometimes it could be a full-time job, right? So sometimes you have a staff where the executive director is stewarding. There's a development director. There's major gifts officer. There's even a development coordinator. So if you have the staff, this is fantastic. You've got a whole team to be able to back up and deliver on those stewarding goals. It's a great way to actually get your board to engage, right? So get the board chair, get the board treasurer, the development committee on the board. Have them all be working with you on stewarding donors. It's just a conversation sometimes, right? It's one thing to call and thank people for their gifts, but it's also another moment to be able to just converse and get to know donors and understand their giving goals and what they think about your nonprofit. And of course, volunteers are fantastic additions to your stewarding team. Some of them are extroverts, right? They love meeting new people. They want to talk to new people. They love it. And this is a great work from home remote job, right? So volunteer people to call, make phone calls, write personalized thank you cards, write personalized emails, text messages. I think a lot of volunteers who want to do things remotely, this is a great way for them to, and it's not about making an ask, right? It's really just about like checking in and talking to people and telling them about all the cool stuff that your nonprofit is doing. So let's talk about stewardship a little bit more. Like, how do you steward? What are some examples of stewardship? One is I call create memorable moments, right? So it's the small gestures of just like saying thank you, calling and checking in on how are you. These are things that can like really make a big difference because you're not being transactional. You're actually trying to build a relationship with somebody by matching their giving goals with your mission goals. The second is provide updates on your nonprofit, right? Dr. Tamara Gray has written a book called Joy Jots, and I love this phrase because I think this is a great way of you providing updates by sharing the joy jots of your organization, right? There's success stories. Like, what has been so exciting recently that's happened at your nonprofit that you would love to share with your donors? And then, yes, challenges. Everybody loves to talk about challenges. And you can have a very positive story to tell, or you can also have a story that's challenging, but ask for advice from your donor. They have a lot to advise, they have a lot to offer. And so ask for that advice, get some input, do a survey, right? And ask them about their thoughts. And one thing I always want to mention is make sure that you invite people to upcoming events, because if you think your social media and emails are getting read because of the wonderful algorithms out there, you are mistaken. Make sure that you do personalized invitations to your donors so that they can attend some of your cool offerings and programmings and see in action what your nonprofit does. Now, every Ramadan is when we see a lot of giving happening in the Muslim community. So before the next Ramadan comes, I want you to think about how you're going to steward the donors that just gave you in this past Ramadan, right? Make that list. Who gave? Did you thank them? Have you given them an update? Did you provide an invitation to the next great thing that your nonprofit is doing? What is the stewarding plan for your donors before the next Ramadan comes so that when you make the ask, they know exactly what they are giving towards? I hope this presentation was helpful. If you have any more questions, follow me on LinkedIn, subscribe to this YouTube channel, and then sign up for my email newsletters. I'd love to help you in creating a stewarding plan. Thanks.